Alright, so today I'm going to show you factoring trinomials. So factoring is that what we learned last week. I showed you how to factor, but we use something called the Gcf method. Okay? So remember, use the Gcf method when you have one or two terms, so like something like this. Right? There's only one, two terms. So if there's two terms, you would use Gcf method. Now, what if I have something like this? X squared plus 4x minus 7. What kind of function is this? We got 1, 2, 3. Three terms. Three terms, so that's a trinomial, right? Trinomial. So when you have a trinomial, which is three terms, you have to use this special method, okay? And we're just gonna call it the trinomial method. Doesn't really have a name, but we're just gonna say, okay, we're gonna do the trinomial method for that one. All right, here's my example. So when you have a trinomial, so I'm gonna write one down, x squared plus 7x plus 12. So if you have this trinomial, and let's say the instructions tell you to factor, okay? So the instructions say, here's your trinomial, I want you to factor this. You should know that it has 1, 2, 3 terms. So this is the special thing. When you have a trinomial and you factor it, it's gonna be two binomials. You should probably remember back to the assignment I gave you on Friday, which had you guys practice multiplying these. It's because what we're doing is we're going backwards, right? So if you know how to multiply and distribute, so let's just do, here's my little side example here. If I had like x plus 3, x plus 2, and I do FOIL, which is what we practiced on Friday, I'll get x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. Combine like terms, I get x squared plus 5x plus 6. Isn't this a trinomial? 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to make this. So basically we're going backwards. Like what I told you last time when we factored, we were going backwards. You're doing the same thing here. You're just going backwards. So you're going to take your trinomial and you're going to find the two binomials that it started out with to give you this. Okay, so very simple. For the first one, all you think of is if I'm going to be foiling this, I'm going to go this times this times this will give me this. So think to yourself, what times what gives you x squared? I'll give you a minute to think about it. What times what gives you x squared? All right, hopefully you decided that x times x gives you x squared, right? X times x, x squared. Now here's how you find these numbers, because we don't really know what goes here and here, so we have to fill in the spots, but we don't really know. Here's how you do it. You make a little chart. So you're going to make a little chart here. Okay, now you need to find two numbers, right? Because we have two spots. We have a spot here and a spot here. We need two numbers that when you multiply the numbers, you get 12, but when you add the numbers, you get 7. So when you multiply the two numbers together, you get 12, and when you add the two numbers together, you get 7. So let's think of two numbers that multiply to get 12. Well, 1 times 12 is 12. 2 times 6 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. So these are all the ways you can get 12. 1 times 12 is 12, 2 times 6 is 12, 4 times 3. Which one of these numbers, if you add them together, will give you 7? 1 plus 12, does that give you 7? No. 2 plus 6, does that give you 7? No. 4 plus 3, does that give you 7? Yes, it does. So our magic numbers I call them, are 4 and 3. Positive 4, positive 3. So you know that here is a positive 4 and here is a positive 3. Basically all you're doing is you're finding these magic numbers. two numbers. When you multiply them, you get 12. And when you add them, you get this one. Basically, when you multiply, you get the last number. And when you add them, you get the middle number. Okay? All right, let's try a different one. Get my other board. Okay. All right, let's try another one I have. How about x squared plus 11x plus 24. So the ones I'm showing you today are very, very simple. All you're doing is it's always just going to be x squared in the beginning. So I know it's always going to be x and x. That's the easy part. I already got that down. I just need to figure out what number goes there and what number goes there. I'm going to make my little chart. I need two numbers that multiply to get 24 and that add up to get 11. So I need two numbers that multiply to get 24 and add up to get 11. All right, what are some numbers that multiply to get 24? Let's see, 24 times 1, 12 times 2, let's see, what else? 6 times 4, let's see, 6 times 4, how about 3 times 8, 8 times 3, and I think that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's it. So those are all my numbers that multiply to get 12. Now look at all these pairs. Can you see which one of these pairs will add up to get 11? 24 plus 1? No. 12 plus 2? That's going to be 14. That's going to be 25. 14. If you add these, it's going to be 10. If you add these, 8, 9, 10, 11, you get the magic number, 11. So that means our magic numbers are 8 and 3. Plus 8 plus 3. And that's it. Easy. Now you're going to start, some of you guys will be able to do this in your head, no problem. So like here's another one. X squared plus 10x plus 9. I know it's going to be like this. I know it's x and x. Can you guys, in your head, can you think of two numbers that multiply to get 9 that add up to get 10? I'm just thinking in my head, there's only two options for 9. There's only two ways you can get 9. It's either 1 times 9 or 3 times 3. Which one of these, if you add them, you'll get 10? 1 and 9. So I know it's a 1 there and a 9 there. And that's it. That's factoring. Very simple. How do you know if you're right? How do you know you did it right? Well, let's FOIL it and see if we did it right. X times x, x squared. X times 9, 9x. 1 times x, 1x. 1 times 9, 9. I have like terms. 9x plus 1x, 10x. Bring the other ones down. Look at that. I get exactly what I started with in the beginning. So that's how you can always check your work to see if you did it right. But anyways, this is called factoring with trinomials. I'm going to show you one more example with negative numbers, just so you know how to do negatives, but it's pretty, it's the same thing, but you just want to be careful because I know you guys struggle a little bit with negatives, so let me show you what's going to happen here. I'm just going to do one example for this. Let's say we had x squared plus 3x minus 18. Okay. So I want you to think of this as a negative 18, and I want you to think of that as a positive 3. So you got to think, what are two numbers that multiply to get this one, negative 18, and that add to get 3? So multiply to get negative 18 and add to get 3. So think of the face. We got our face here, right? In order to get a negative number when I multiply, I know I'm going to have to multiply a negative times a positive. So, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I know negative 1 times 18 will give me 18, right? 1 times 18 will give me negative 18. But here's where you got to be careful. It could also be reversed, because you could have negative 1 times 18, but wouldn't 1 times negative 18 also give you negative 18? Yes, because just one of them has to be negative. And then you got to think of other things that give you negative 18. So let's go, how about negative 2 times 9? That will give you negative 18. And also 2 times negative 9 will give you that. So before, when we did the positives, it doesn't matter because 2 times 3 equals 3 times 2, right? The order does not matter. But when we're talking about negatives, the order matters. So you're going to have to make a longer list. All right, now let's think of another one. We got one more, 6 times 3. So let's do negative 3 times 6 or 3 times negative 6. Now which one of these, if you add them, keep in mind some of them are negative, you'll get a positive 3. Okay, this is where it helps if you know how to add and subtract with negative numbers, which I know some of you guys struggle with. So negative 1 plus 18, that's going to give you 17. Negative 18 plus a 1 gives you negative 17. Negative 2 plus 9 gives you a 7. 2 minus 9 gives you negative 7. Negative 3 plus 6 gives you 3. And 3 minus 6 gives you negative 3. So which one of these gives me my positive 3? Scan the list. You'll see that it's this one here. These are my magic numbers. So when I have my two parentheses set up the same way, my x and x, same thing, I'm going to put a negative 3 and a positive 6. Negative 3, positive 6. Done. That's my answer. Okay? So just be careful when you do negatives. You're going to make a little bit of a longer list, and you got to be a little more careful. But to see if you got the right answer, you just want to make sure you FOIL that out. So x times x, x squared, x times 6, 6x, negative 3 times x, negative 3x, negative 3 times 6, negative 18. I have like terms. 6 minus 3 is 3. Bring the rest down. Did we get the same thing as the top? Yes, we did. So I know that I did it right. So this is my answer. Now this is called factoring. And remember, this is factoring only when you have a trinomial. 1, 2, 3, a trinomial. This is a special process.